All right, welcome back, Next Gen HQ fam, to another edition of Mentor Moments. I am so excited today to be joined by Monique Hayward, an award-winning marketing executive, a two-time entrepreneur, and a published author. Monique, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you so much, Andrew, for the invitation. And oh, by the way, three-time entrepreneur. So
there we go. I mean, you're better than me. I thought you were going to be like, Andrew's only one. No, three. It's three.
So,
yeah,
wow, I know. It's crazy down.
So many things to dive into. But before we get into the nitty-gritty details, let's have a little bit of fun. Let's do a little bit of rapid-fire questions. Let the people get to know you in a little bit of a different way.
Okay.
So don't worry. We'll keep them.
Should I be scared? Don't be scared.
Your first rapid fire question, Monique. What is one book that you would recommend everybody read right now?
Oh, wow. One book that I would recommend everyone read right now is one that I read last year, Colson Whitehead's Underground Railroad. It is amazing in terms of the story, the writing, the timeliness of the topic, of course, as we think about, where we are with our, social justice issues and, the current political environment. It's a good reminder of, the slavery paradigm that we all want to change, right? As we start to really think about, how we want to, really live our lives in a way that is embracing of the opportunity that we need to create for everybody to succeed.
Truly incredible. One that I definitely will need to add to my personal list. And I mean, one question in, you're already giving us.
I know, right? I like historical fiction. So, and this is really a fantastic novel, and he's an amazing writer. So yeah, definitely. And I've got his next book queued up I need to read as well. So anyway, here we go. Rapid fire.
Onto your next rapid fire question. Talk us through your morning routine. Anything you do in the morning to set yourself up for success for the day ahead.
Yeah, I do a couple things. One, I try to set an intention for the day because I'm really busy, as everybody else is, right? And it's so easy for your day to get away from you, right? And so I really do try to think about what am I going to do in the morning? How am I going to spend my afternoon, and how I'm going to wind down in the evening? So that's one thing that I do. And then the other thing that I do is that I check all of my news sources first thing in the morning. So I get a lot of newsletters from like Bloomberg, New York Times, The Skim, others that I try to kind of scan and see what's going on in the world, and make sure that I'm an informed citizen, right? And so that I can have these conversations and have these topics, see what the market is doing, all that kind of thing. I try to do that also first thing in the morning to kind of get that out of the way, and kind of have a context for how I'm going to kind of go through the day.
Intentionality and a little bit of market updates seems like a pretty good combo for
oh yeah, I do like to check on my money every day too. So I look at my bank accounts to make sure nothing stupid happened overnight.
You're talking to an audience of entrepreneurs. I'm sure a lot of people can relate to that.
Oh yeah, definitely.
And your final rapid fire question, what is one wellness tip that you have?
Oh, exercise. I get my workout on. In fact, right before our call, I just did, an hour of body combat. And I tell you, it's amazing how much of a reset you can get from physical activity and, rigorous exercise. I mean, it's just, there's so many benefits. Of course, we all know that. And I try to put that into my routine at least 5-6 days a week.
Super interesting. And I think it's also interesting that it seems like it was kind of in the middle of the day too, which I feel like a lot of people would be like, oh no, I got to do it in the morning or at the night. I don't know. Do you have an insight as to why middle of the day kind of works for you, or?
Right. Well, I actually work out at all kinds of hours of the day. So sometimes I do it first thing in the morning. Sometimes I do it in the middle of the day. And most of the time I actually do it at night after work. So it all depends on, the schedule that I've got, where I am. I travel a lot under normal circumstances when we're not in the middle of a pandemic. And so one of the things that I have made a habit of is getting off the plane, right, and going straight to the hotel. First thing I do is work out, right? Because after being on a plane for hours and hours, you just feel like, oh God, you just feel fatigued. You just like, you get a workout, even if it's like 30 minutes, 40 minutes, And that'll just, again, hit the reset button and you refresh, you're energized to get the rest of the trip off to a good start.
Wow, an incredible tip. And when I do get back to traveling, one that I will definitely start employing. I'm sure
you'll
feel
feel
great.
a lot better. You'll be a better road warrior when you're feeling like you've got, good physical fitness. It helps with the stamina, it helps with the energy, it helps with, being able to deal with all of the things that you deal with, especially when you're on the road, right? Because it's just I remember, I'm old enough to remember back in the day when I could travel and not have to worry about what was going on at the office, right? But nowadays, right, you have to basically stay on top of what's going on there, plus what you're actually on the road to be focused on, right? So yeah, you've got to have the physical stamina to be able to handle all of that responsibility.
A wonderful end and segue from our rapid fire into our deeper questions, letting people get to know you a little bit more. You mentioned two words in there that I think you embody really incredibly: warrior and intense, insane stamina. You've worked as a marketing executive for companies like Microsoft and Intel, and you've started not two but three companies of your own. Talk us through how you are able to manage your time and basically be able to do all of these in time-intensive projects
right.
at once.
Yeah, I can tell you it's crazy town. So first thing is that you prioritize the things that are important to you. And so I'm very intentional about how I spend my time. And I really try to do things that are not wasteful of my time. So when I was conceiving of my first business, which was a restaurant business, I actually sat down and looked at where I was spending my time, because I knew that having a restaurant was going to start to consume a lot of my calendar. And so I intentionally went through and said, okay, how much TV am I watching? Right? How much, how many movies do I go to? Or how many spa vacations do I take and all that? And so when I started to look at where I was spending my time, especially, things that you can kind of not necessarily eliminate, but cut back on, you find the hours, right? The best thing that ever happened to me, honestly, Andrew, was time-shifted television. I can't even begin to tell you the last time I actually watched a program at the time that it was actually scheduled and aired. Everything I watched, either happened the night before, right? Or, happened a couple of days ago, whatever. I have got a fantastic, lineup of television that I watch when I want to watch it. That was like, that set me free because I didn't have to be glued in front of the TV. So when you're thinking about, how to create the space for the things that you want to do from an entrepreneurial standpoint, you start with where you're spending your time and how you can actually, minimize or reshuffle or reshift those priorities so that you can create that space. And that's what I did. And I wound up, figuring out how to get more time back and shift that into my entrepreneurial pursuits and dreams.
I love that. But before we kind of move on to the entrepreneurial dreams, talk us through a little bit about, your career trajectory, if you will.
Yeah.
Spending some time at Intel, some time at Microsoft, ultimately launching this restaurant business. And obviously we'll get into your current venture momentarily, but piece us through the journey and kind of how it all came to be.
Sure. Well, let me share with you where I'm originally from. So I am from New York City, and I split my childhood between New York City and Columbia, South Carolina.
You're kidding. You're kidding.
Yeah, no, I kid you not.
I'll tell you more later, but get back to you.
Oh, okay, great. No, that's fantastic. Yeah, no, South Carolina. Yeah, that's. I graduated from high school, and I decided that I was not going to, stay in South Carolina. And so, as I was growing up, I really thought that I was going to be a journalist. My aspiration in life was to be a political reporter at the Washington Post. And so I went to a top 10 J school, journalism school, the University of Maryland, College Park. And then when I got there, I was like, oh, wow, okay. Now, it's not like I had some great vision at age 18, 19, 20 about the demise of the newspaper business. I did not have that. What I had in my brain was, oh, wow, I really need to make a living and kind of make some money. And journalists don't start out at the Washington Post on the political desk. They start out at, the state newspaper in Columbia, South Carolina, writing obits and, chasing ambulances. And I'm like, oh God, no, that's not what I want to do. And so I stayed in the journalism school, but then I shifted to public relations. And so I got a degree in journalism, but my focus changed to PR. And then I decided that, hey, you know, I really don't want to write press releases for the rest of my life either. So I decided to get an MBA. And so I got an MBA from Case Western Reserve University in Cleveland, Ohio. And I spent 2 years in Cleveland and endured that weather. Oh my God. The first time that it snowed 12 inches overnight, I called my mother in South Carolina and I said, "You're not going to believe this, but it just snowed 12 inches and they didn't shut anything down." I'm like, "What? I got to go to school, dude." I was like, "Well, I guess I better get up and get dressed and get to class." So anyway, but I had a great experience at Case, got my MBA, and this was 1994. And so for those of you who may remember 1994, we were just really coming out of a recession at that time. And I mean, it was a tough job market, but I had a 3 H's strategy, Andrew. So my 3 H's strategy to find a job was Hollywood, high tech, and healthcare. And so I wanted to really work in Hollywood, but I needed a network, right? Even on the business side, right? I just, at that time in my life, I did not have the wherewithal to build that kind of network that I needed to bridge into a job, you know, working for, you know, a big studio or a big media company or whatever. And then when I looked at healthcare, I was like, oh man, you know, that's kind of emerging. There's a lot of regulation there. It's kind of going to be hard to kind of be, you know, in marketing there. So I said, hey, how about high tech? And sure enough, I got an offer from a company called Tektronix in Beaverton, Oregon. And I was like, okay, well, I guess I'm going west. And I took the job offer as a marketing communications specialist for this company that focused on the test and measurement industry. And then from there, I worked there for about 3 years before I joined Intel. And I was at Intel for 22 years. Wow. And then I joined Microsoft, and I just recently starting to make the transition from Microsoft to my next thing. So here we are.
Wow.
That's the journey.
So
and then I started my businesses along the way,
yeah,
which is kind of crazy. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I also wrote 2 books along the way as well. So, yeah. I know. So, and I got married in there. There's a bunch of stuff going on. Yeah, we, you know.
What I'm learning. Yeah, what I'm learning is I need to go look at my time and see how much TV do I watch. I mean, if you can make all this happen, then it's definitely so many. I love so many things in there. Your 3 H's strategy. I think that's a great coming out of your MBA programming and having. I don't know if that was coined when you first were applying, or if you coined that in post as you're thinking back on your time. But that's a wonderful.
Yeah, I did it in real time at that time. And, you know, and a lot of times, you know, especially when you're thinking about your career and you're thinking about, you know, your businesses, whether you're an entrepreneur, whether you're professional or both, right? Mm-hmm. You know, it really is imperative for you to really think about, you know, what it is that you really want to do, where it is that you really want to be, and where it is that you really want to go. Because mm-hmm. there are so many things that we can get consumed by, and the next thing you know, 10 years have passed. Right? Yeah. And so I think it's really good to be strategic and to be intentional and to really think about what it is that you're really trying to do.
Transitioning on to where you are now. I'm so excited to talk about your latest venture, Driscoll Cuisine and Cocktail Concepts. Talk to us. How did you get the idea? Tell us a little bit more about it, and maybe something that you're super excited for in the future for it.
Yes, Driscoll Cuisine and Cocktail Concepts was born out of a conversation that I had with a gentleman who I met in Phoenix, Arizona, back in March of 2019. And I happened to be on vacation in Phoenix, and it was around the time of my birthday, which is March 22nd. And I was in Scottsdale, and I was looking for a restaurant. And I happened onto a place that looked like it was jumping for Wednesday night. And I walked in, sat at the bar, and I noticed that there was a server who was just on point. And having owned a restaurant business and knowing how incredibly important it is for your servers to be on point and really delivering fantastic hospitality to your guests, I was really struck by just how much this particular guy stood out. His name is Brian Driscoll. And so Brian and I struck up a conversation after his shift because I was watching him the whole night, and I promised him that I wasn't a stalker. and that, you know, I just really wanted to compliment him on his hospitality and the way that he was handling his business and handling the tables and handling, you know, things that came up. And he was even helping out other people and, you know, kind of turning chairs in a feng shui kind of way in the restaurant. I mean, he was like way over the top. I had never seen anything like it. And so, so we started having a conversation about what it is that, you know, he was up to and his dreams and his aspirations. And I was on the hunt for my next venture after having, you know, my restaurant business for 5 years almost. And then I was a partner in a software company that did mobile phone apps for a couple of years. And so I was like, you get kind of itching, you know, as entrepreneurs, as you all know, right? You always get itching, right? There's always something going on, like, oh, I got to get into something, right? And so I was looking at what my next venture would be. And he was telling me that he had this aspiration to be a personal chef, but he didn't really have, you know, the right plan or the right resources or the right opportunity to kind of figure out how to pull the plan together and all that. And so I left Phoenix and left that conversation. You know, we wound up staying in touch, and I did some research on the market and figured out what the opportunity was. And next thing you know, we had a 25-page business plan. We started an LLC, and we launched the business in November of last year, did a soft launch, and then did our formal coming out at the Arizona Bridal Show in January of this year. And so I was really quite surprised at how it hockey sticked. I mean, every entrepreneur on this call understands, right, that, you know, when you get surprised by revenue, that's a great surprise. You're like what? There are people who really want this service, and there are people who my phone is ringing off the hook, and oh wow, I didn't anticipate that. But then you know, at that moment, I'm like, okay, let's not rest on our laurels. Something's up, and let's plan for the future. And sure enough, COVID-19 hit in March, and we had to shut our business down for almost 3 months. Wow. And that was tough because, yeah, so Brian, actually the namesake of Driscoll Cuisine and Cocktail Concepts, this is his job. So those, you know, again, you're entrepreneurs, you know, this is your sole source of income. This is your sole source of, you know, your life, everything you built, you know, your life around. And to not have any revenue coming in for 3 months is tough, right? So, but anyway, but we decided that we weren't going to let this get us down. And entrepreneurs, y'all know, we are nothing if not what? Optimistic. Optimistic. Like, oh man, you know, there's sunshine coming out of the clouds. The next opportunity is right around the corner, right? Like, oh, we're gonna invest in this. We're gonna stay the course. We know what we need to do. And so what we did was we stepped back and we said, okay, let's reflect on where we are. Let's get an opportunity to look at our strategy and make sure that that's right. Let's look at our operation and figure out where we have opportunities to increase efficiencies. Where do we have opportunities to kind of skinny things down a little bit without sacrificing service? How can we, you know, do better with the relationships that we're building with our customers and clients? How do we actually stay in their face more, even if they're not spending money right now? So what does our marketing strategy look like, in other words, right? We went into think tank while we weren't making any money to make sure that when we did actually see this start to turn around, that we would be ready. And sure enough, people are really coming out now because they just cannot get what they want in terms of their special occasions and celebrations that they've been dying to do. And going to a restaurant right now is a subpar experience. So bring a personal chef into your house, and your restaurant, your home rather, is your new favorite restaurant. So that's basically what we've been doing. And we are now seeing increase to our, you know, pre-COVID levels. And we're also booked pretty solidly between now and the end of October going into the holiday season. So thank goodness, I tell you.
Wow. I mean, many congratulations and so much along that journey that I think people can learn from. And you know, like you said, opportunistic, resilience, stubbornness, whatever words you want to use. I think, entrepreneurs can definitely relate. Monique, for everybody watching, what is one lesson that you learned along the way that has kind of helped you? You know, you're such an optimistic person. You have so much energy. You've done probably more than most people in the world. I mean, we haven't even gotten into the other ventures, the 2 books. But, what is one lesson that you learned maybe early on that's kind of helped you get to where you are now?
Right. I think one lesson that I will leave with everyone here is that it would be really good for you to find time for self-reflection,
Mm,
right? And self-discovery, and getting an opportunity to really look at things from a different perspective and not always be so busy, busy, busy in the fray. I learned that early on because I was, overloading myself. And when you're not at your best, you make bad decisions, you make bad choices, you make mistakes, right? And so you need to take the time for that self-reflection. You need to take the time to relax. You need to take the time to kind of get out of your own way and kind of let things happen too. So being self-aware, right? I've learned that over the years to be a heck of a lot more self-aware and listen to my mind, listen to my body, listen to my advisors and counselors who are wiser than me on a lot of things, right, that I go and seek their advice and counsel for. And 9 times out of 10, when I talk to my advisors, one of the first things they ask is, what are you doing to take care of yourself? Right? What are you doing to slow down? What are you doing to reflect? So that's my biggest lesson I think I want to leave with you all.
Yeah, a wonderful one too. I feel like a lot of especially young entrepreneurs are like, let me just go. I'm like, I'll go,
Yeah.
go. I'll reflect.
No, your body will shut you down. It will. If you push it too far, it will shut you down. So yeah, build in that time ahead of time.
Definitely. Monique, somehow we made it to close to the end of this flew by, but
I know, right? Wow, are we already done? How can this be? There must be a part 2.
We'll have to do part 2. We got many more things to talk about, but one thing to leave us with before we finish up, I always like to finish these with looking into the future. What is something that excites you about the future, about the next generation, if you will, that you're like, yes, that is what we need to get to?
Right. Well, I'm happy to see this next generation getting its hustle on, like I like to say, right? And they're really being engaged in the conversation about what's happening in the world, taking responsibility for yourselves and each other, right? Caring more, having, a conscience about, where the world is going and the decisions that we need to make in order for us to survive as a species, right? And then also the other thing too that I'm super hopeful and optimistic about is how out of adversity there always is opportunity. And even though we've all been relegated to Zoom calls that are making us crazy, and staying in our houses and masking up and washing our hands every 5 seconds, out of this time there's going to be a lot of opportunity that is going to emerge on the horizon. And I know that the next generation is already figuring out how we can create growth opportunities in a way that is socially responsible, how we can make money in a way that we can still give back, right? Those are the things that really give me hope about the next generation. So y'all get out there, get after it, get with it, and please, please, please pay your taxes, because I want to retire at some point and I need that Social Security check.
I mean, it might be bad. We'll just end right here. So, Monique, thank you so much. I cannot wait for everybody to check this out. This was an absolute pleasure.
Oh, thank you so much. It's my pleasure to be here, and I really appreciate the invitation. And y'all take care. Be safe.